What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great Saturday night, a great weekend, getting ready for the holiday. It's been chaos here, so I'm ready to talk some football. That's for damn sure. So we're here. We're talking the draft. We're talking birds, trying to keep you up to date with all the stuff and talk about the draft. And look, we've got a few weeks less than. Pretty excited here. So we talked about the quarterbacks, running backs. Tonight we are here to talk about the wide receivers, and it is not the top 5 pitch. You'll see when I get there, it'll say the top 10. Do not fear. But look, we talked about, a couple of positions that I felt, one, we really need, one, we don't need it all. And now this one, I think to an extent, you need to add to this room. So a lot of great information here. We're going to talk about the draft prospects in their tiers, the ranks as we go through. Then we'll look at the Eagles wide receivers, what they've got going on, and then the top fits. And of course, as I said, it is the top 10. So I was not going back and changing all that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So a lot of stuff here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hope you're all doing well. But let me know who you like, which receivers you like, for what reason. So let's go. And look, as I'm going through this, of course, at the end, I'm going to give you the top 10 fits. So I won't get too much into anybody till we get into them. But let me hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Love to hear who you like, what's going on. My man, Sean, Tank Dell, top 10. Are you talking about top 10 in the draft? I do not see that happening. A top 10 wide receiver? Sure, definitely. But let's jump into this thing here. Appreciate each and every one of you. But we'll start this off by going through these tiers, these ranks I have here. And I break it up into the rounds where I feel they could go. And especially with wide receiver, oh my God, if there's somebody I'm missing that you feel you want to talk about or whatever it may be, please. But there's like 70, 80 names here. Wow. A lot of guys that try to keep up with. And then, some of the guys that I didn't know, try to do my best to watch and figure out as much as I could about them. But for some of the guys, at the back end here, we talk about the late round guys. I've got a bunch of players here. So, I mean, whatever your heart desires, there's all kinds of different receivers that you could find and add into the undrafted pool. And I think the Eagles will definitely do that. So definitely look out for some of these guys. And I do have one of these guys I want to, pinpoint. But I picked a name from each of these lists and then a couple from some of them. So we'll get into that, but definitely some intriguing names here. And if you like anybody as we go through these, please feel free to let me know. You can see here, I think around 5, 6, but they could go later. Maybe they go before that. But Ronnie Bell, someone that's very intriguing, dual position there. And somebody that I talked about, maybe, he could sneak in the 4th. I think, yeah, he's definitely really talented. But, some guys like Malik Knowles, I really like him. He brings some, return game capability. Jake Bobo on there, who may fall past 6, but so many wide receivers in this draft class. And it was really hard to try to break this damn thing up. But I think next year, maybe I'm just going to stick to like a top 20 list or something. Cause it's like, oh my God, dude, each of these positions trying to keep up with all of it. And then, with the chaos of life and then coming back to it, it's like, oh yeah. Okay. Oh my God. Now you remember all the top guys, but with a position like receivers, again, it's pretty chaotic here. So you see these guys, maybe, somebody takes a stab at them higher than the 5th round. So through these guys in a different category, Bryce Ford, Wheaton, very intriguing. Puka Nakua, I think as well. Trey Palmer, Charlie Jones, Raheem Jarrett, Parker Washington, Keishawn Butte. So I think that some names here that you could definitely be excited about if you got in those mid rounds. Now, here are some names that I think, some 3rd round names, some guys that could go in the 2nd and maybe even sneak in, as a 1st round if somebody really likes one of these guys. But a lot of really talented wide receivers. But I don't think one of those classes where you feel, at the top, you're like, oh my God, this is, so many great receivers that I have to. You don't have to do anything. I think just like with running back, there's a lot of talent in this class. It's not, jumping off the page at you, but I really think some of these kids are going to be great NFL players. So, you're looking at Mims, Dell, Tillman, Scott, Perry, Downs. I think even Downs, man, I thought about, this next tier. I made it like a top 5, but this was difficult for me. And I like that it's difficult. And for now, this is how I had the list. And even before I came on here, I'm like, I just feel certain ways about certain receivers. And it comes down to what kind of receiver you're looking for. And, I guess you could say, oh, I want the best available, but it's like, do you want the best right now? Do you want the best upside? Because for me, all around kind of receiver, you're looking at, Jackson, Smith-Njigba. I guess I wanted to switch that around there, but you've got Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and Jalen Hyatt. But I'll be honest with you, you could give me a reason for, any reason to mix these guys up. And I've seen some people, obviously Quentin Johnson, number one. I've seen a lot of people say he's not even top 5. And look, man, obviously he's like 6'2 and 3/4. The dude is a beast. And I've heard comparisons to Devontae Adams. But I think for me, he's got enough talent that you could definitely take a shot on him. Jordan Addison, I'm a real big fan of. Same with Zay Flowers. And I think, Jalen Hyatt, if he's someone who falls, I wish, we could be talking about him. I think, oh my God, if he falls, you want to use that second round pick, your third pick, or maybe you had traded one of those first, acquired more picks. Just saying. Yeah, those could be some definitely intriguing options there. But for me, let's take a look at what the Eagles have at wide receiver. And I think that'll help us get an idea of what we're really looking for here. So when you look at the Eagles wide receiver room right now as it stands, obviously the best duo in the game with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And then you've got Quez Watkins, Britton Covey, Greg Ward, Devin Allen, Tyree Cleveland. So Zach Pascal not here any longer, went to the Cardinals. So obviously we've talked about adding to this room. We've talked about you could release Quez Watkins, save yourself some cap space if you wanted. We've got a lot, though, so you don't need to. But I think you could bring in competition for him. And one of the things he lacks is, helping in the return game. Now, clearly, Covey can help us as a punt returner, but I think we need it as a unit as a whole to really start blocking better. But we also still need a kick returner. None of these guys really help you as a kick returner. Tyree Cleveland can try to help you as a return man and hope the best for him this summer, but on the practice squad at the end of the year last year. So look, you've got to add to this room, in my opinion, but I don't necessarily feel that it has to be with one of those top 3 picks or anything. So I think, again, we've talked about this Eagles team. We know we could trade. We've got 26 picks in the next 3 years. You could see this Eagles team acquiring more this year, taking away from the 12 you have next year, doing so many different things where, we can still talk about guys in those mid rounds, even though we don't really have picks. We have those 2 7th round picks after our first 4, which are in the top 94. So pretty wild drop off. But you talk about, again, it's Howie Roseman. So just keep that in mind. We could definitely trade one of those first round picks. You could trade 30. We talked about go to 36. You could get more picks, and so many different things I think for this team can happen that are going to change that. That's why I'm so excited, because we have so much ammo to do things. You could trade for, a star player. You can, just rely on the draft, whatever you want to do. But you saw the receivers we have there. I feel pretty damn comfortable with the top 2. Obviously, I think we all do. And some interchangeable guys. So where is Greg Ward? I think he was like the 5th one listed. Was he not? Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Yes, he is the 5th name there, Greg Ward. So there he is for you. But yeah, we've got some guys there, but you got a water with you? No, I do not. And sorry, I almost died on you the other day or yesterday or whatever day it was. But that really freaked me out, man. Did not enjoy that at all. But look, you keep trucking through it, man. You keep trucking through it. That's what I can do the best of my ability here. If I ever go, at least I'll feel good about, going out doing something I love. But appreciate you guys tuning in here. Where do you think I like him a lot. So what is going on, Liz? Appreciate you tuning in as well. Try to give you a shout out right at the end of the show last night. Not sure if you saw that, but sorry, I missed you. I was having some technical difficulties to the human body. So try to answer the questions and not pass out there. That was it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough, and it kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie to you, but needs to play over Quez. Oh, don't know about that. And look, he's a very serviceable player, and I think, he did well on the practice squad last year, but he was on the practice squad for a reason because, Quez and Zach brought a little something to the table. That's why we're talking about these guys right here in this draft. So let's talk about the not top 5. We're talking about top 10. That's right. I couldn't do just 5. We're not doing that. Nope. I'll go back to 5 when it's the tight ends. But right here, right now, and there are some exciting tight ends. Do not fear. But these guys, a certain mold you're going to see, and you'll see it right with the stats that I included, that these guys have a particular set of skills that I'm looking for, and to me, the best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. So let me know how you're feeling about it as we go through. And as I said, I try to pick someone from each tier and then a couple from, some of the top tiers there. Well, those middle ones. So yeah, we're going to get into this. This is not a top 10 wide receivers list. So you're going to see some names, hopefully you haven't heard of, some names that you have asked me about here in the last couple of minutes. So let's get into this. Let's talk about these guys, and let's pick somebody that I see definitely as like a day 3. And he definitely could go undrafted, but I'm a big fan of Nico Remigio here. And look, this kid, 23 years old and 5-year senior, and he actually transferred from Cal to Fresno State there, so he only had 1 year there. But this kid is pretty fun to watch. You see, now I added, unlike obviously the other positions, you see the return yards down here. So if there's anything to mention with the rushing, I will, but it didn't add that because I want you guys to see I would like the Eagles to add especially someone with kick return ability, but some of these guys that, bring a little something to the slot game, the smaller guys, and they don't have to necessarily be slot because, Devontae and AJ can, they're interchangeable receivers that can move around. So we don't have to, but that's a lot of these guys. So last year at Fresno, he had 74 catches for 852 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, not too much in the rushing department. I had like 6 carries for 42 yards, but you see here, being able to help in the return game is huge for most of these guys. 25.1 yards per kick return, 10.4 per punt return. He's got 1 touchdown in the kick return and 2 in the punt return department. So he brings something to that department there that we obviously are going to mention with the running backs and the receivers and the defensive backs even because, well, the Eagles are always looking for someone that can help you in both areas. So Remigio here for me, I think, obviously a smaller guy. He's 5'10", 190 there. But look, he's actually tougher than he looks. And when you watch him play, he actually goes up, gets the ball. He's actually pretty damn good at catching the ball, to be real with you. And so it's not just about his return game, but he's got good hands for me. And just the way he moves, man, he's got great contact balance. I just think that he's somebody that you could add. Maybe, he makes it as your 4th, 3rd receiver, but he can help you in that return game. And I think that obviously he's not the biggest of dudes, but you could get him as an undrafted kid, one of those 7th round picks, then I would be all for it. Now at number 9 here, someone that was just asked about here, and somebody I definitely like in Darius Davis. And, he did pretty good, a 5-year senior at TCU. Last year only had 531 yards, but another guy that we're talking about can help us in the return game. He had 13.5 yards per catch in his career there, 9 receiving touchdowns, and last year he had 5 of those. He can help you a little bit on the ground. He has had 28 carries for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns in his career. So, I mean, he helps you. He's a weapon. This is a kid that, you talk about the return game, doesn't have much in, punt returns. 15 yards per punt return, though, is pretty nice. 22 per kick isn't the greatest, but he's got 5 punt return touchdowns. This kid with the ball in his hands, he really just makes plays. He's really fun to watch. And we talked about, that team having a bunch of playmakers on there. And look, I really think this is another one of those kids. So he's quick as hell. He's somebody that, he's actually got pretty long arms, and he's only 5'9". So you're going to think, oh boy, he's only 168. But, for being that guy, he's just somebody you want to get the ball into his hands. We talked about that, whether it's catching the ball, handing the ball to him, letting him return the ball. I think this kid, if you watch him, he's quick as hell. He's fast as hell. He's got great feet. He's just somebody that I think I would be willing to take a flyer on in that 7th, maybe if you acquire a 6th round pick. But another kid that, needs to pack on some muscle there. Not exactly somebody that you're going to be worried about in that department. But look, these are young guys. These are bottom of the barrel here that I'm talking about, not to knock them, but you never know in the right situation with the right coaching. Only 22 years old, what it could do for this young man here. So I think for me, I would not be against adding someone like a Darius Davis. Now, up next, I think Trey Palmer. This dude is fast as hell. It was like 4.3 was his 40 time. I can't remember, or what 4.33 is what it was. And my Lord, this is another one. You're looking for help in the return game, but you're going to look at the stats and you're going to say, wait a damn minute here, because, well, not exactly great stats there. But he had 3 years at LSU, transferred over to Nebraska, and this past year he had over 1,000 yards, 14.7 yards per catch, and 9 touchdowns this past season. So that transfer was the right move, and he got a couple carries for 75 yards. He had 15 yards per carry there. So he is another guy. You get the ball into his hands. He's explosive. Now, the stats don't show you that, oh, he's some kind of great returner, but I think he's somebody that you put effing back there in the summer and you tell him you're going to figure it out, because with the ball in his hands, I think Trey Palmer is another kid another explosive guy, and you're going to notice there is a theme, but he's actually pretty good as a receiver too. So as we get up, more so a receiver too, not just a return man. And I think he has another kid with good hands, and I'm looking for that too when I'm picking these kids out, because, well, I don't like to watch the drops and just could use some help here. So, look, this kid, another kid that you watch, he's just got that smooth and he's got contact balance, which helps you in the return game. Somebody that, tracks the ball on those deep balls well. I think he's good when it comes to the deep play. So for me, I like this kid. He has been known to drop some balls, but I obviously, again, think that you could nab this guy in round like the 5th, maybe 6th round. So this is not somebody that, I think you got to waste some kind of high draft capital on. I think, you could definitely acquire someone in this draft that can help you in this return game and push some of the receivers we have. So I think some of those guys would definitely be some great options. So we shall see here. Hey, I really appreciate that. Really appreciate you watching that as well. And definitely feeling much better. It's been very stressful. Obviously, I was quite sick last week. So really trying to recuperate from that. Still, my damn body is crap, but it is what it is. But Isavias, I really like him a lot. I did not mention him. Didn't want to bring up any outside receivers. Not to say that we won't, but there are definitely some damn good receivers in this draft that it was hard to make a top 10 even, to be real with you. Love competition for Quez. Also need to focus on Covey. No, I like Covey, and Covey was one of the better returners last year. I think we just need to get better blockers back there. That'd be a great idea. But you bring in competition for him as a punt returner, but you bring in someone that can actually kick return. That's something Covey doesn't do. So one of these guys would fit that bill. And I think that Raheem Jarrett here is somebody that, he doesn't have any punt returns, but he could help you in that kick return game, even though it doesn't look like it when you look at those stats. So this is a kid that I think, young, 22 years old, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's somebody that I just think that has such a high upside that you could find in those later mid rounds, day 3, that could really help you out. He's another explosive playmaker. Only had 3 years at Maryland there. But, last year, you look at his year, he only had like 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, again, this is not somebody that's going to jump off the page at you when you're looking him up. But I'm telling you, if you actually watch him, he will show you why I actually like him. And, again, most of these guys, are going to have good hands. This dude has really good hands. And, obviously, we know that he's got return capability because that's what I'm bringing up here. But he's got that speed, man. He is fast as hell. And let me see if I can find that 40 time here for you. But I think, for me, a 4.44. So clearly the last guy was way faster, but that obviously I'm not all about just 40 times. I can't, that's clearly much more to it. But this kid, when you watch him, he's got something. And for his, build, he's tall, lanky dude, but I'm telling you, he's tough off the line. And I really like what he brings to the table. And he's somebody, you get the ball in his hands, he's going to make a play happen. So Again, he looks slender. I think, you definitely want to try to fill him out. But again, this is not a top 10 wide receivers list here, but I think, you help him out, work on his blocking. You give him, some more strength. You build him up. I think this dude, one of those guys we talk about, not like just a strictly kind of slot guy here, where you can use your other receivers. They're interchangeable. You can put this kid wherever you want. Also can help you in the return game. So I am a fan of Raheem Jarrett, and I think if he falls, that is somebody you could definitely be interested in. Now, up next, you have Charlie Jones out of Purdue, and another kid that, that slot kind of build, but also a return man. Wow, go figure that I would actually do that to you. Wouldn't you? Go figure. But I like Charlie Jones here. I think another, smaller receiver with, great hands. He's a great possession receiver, somebody that would really help us in the slot. So that seriously, he's like your little Scotty Miller type of player. And Scotty Miller can take the top off a little bit. So I think that Charlie Jones kind of brings that to the table too. He had a 4.4340. So this dude has speed. But clearly, I think this dude could work on a lot of things, his route running and stuff. But look, he is somebody at 6'1", 188 that exactly what you're getting from him. And you see here, he helps you in that return game. Over 1,000 return yards there. He's got a touchdown in each category, but last year had over 1,300 yards. He had transferred from Iowa and had himself a damn good season, 12 reception touchdowns. So somebody you got to watch out for in the return game, in the air. And he can provide all that stuff we talk about. And he's not like Covey, where he's just strictly a punt returner. This guy could help you as a slot wide receiver. I think he could help you as a return man as well. And you could find him around the 5th round. And maybe someone's willing to go in the 4th. It's such a skewed draft, man. There's so much talent, and it really depends on what you're looking for here. So I'm a fan of Charlie Jones, and I think that, he is somebody that is definitely a possibility if you're looking for a slot guy, looking for a return help. And that's something that I think the Eagles should definitely be looking into. So named a couple of guys I know you're talking about. We're going to mention a couple more. Was better than Covey at punt return? I think we should replace. No, Boston Scott was definitely not better. Britton Covey was a lot better than Boston Scott at that. And Boston Scott actually did kick returning. And, he's average at that. He's okay. But we need to, up that, get that room much better. So that's why we're talking about those guys, focusing on that particular kind of player. So appreciate you tuning in, Nina. Let's go. Happy Easter to you and yours and everyone else tuning in. If you weren't here for the beginning of the show, I am alive and kicking, and hope you're all doing well. Hope you're going to enjoy this holiday with your families, loved ones, friends, yourself, whatever you're doing. Hope you enjoy yourselves and stay safe. But Nina, hope you and the family have a good one. Happy Easter to you and yours. But we just got through the bottom 5 fits. Now we're going to go through the top 5 fits here. Going through these 10, that again is not a top 10 receivers in this draft. It's the top 10 I think the Eagles should be looking at. So went through those 5. Love to hear your thoughts on those. But let's get into these top 5 here. And number 5, not exactly the greatest return man, but if you're looking for a kid that I really think, could be something when, if he falls, that's kind of my thinking. If he is, but look, NFL scouts, people, they know this kid. They know how he plays. In his 3 years at Penn State, this kid was a baller. And he doesn't have stats that are going to jump off the page. He only has 1,900 yards in those 3 years. He's got 12 touchdowns. Like, okay, that's nothing crazy. The return yards, nothing crazy. Doesn't really run the ball. So it's not the stats that, you're going to want to look at for this young man. I think he is somebody that kind of reminds you, of just one of Golden Tate, like a light Golden Tate. I just think that, he brings that slot presence, that toughness that we're looking for. He's 5'10", 212 pounds, and I'm a fan of Parker Washington. I will not lie to you. I think that this dude, he's tough as hell. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he can score a touchdown. So that's where he can help you in the return game. I think that given the time, being taught some things, I think he could really help you as a punt returner, kick returner. He could do those kind of things. I think this dude, he's got great hands, strong hands. He's a tough dude that goes up and gets the ball, and he doesn't really drop the ball much from what I watched. And, I really think that he's somebody that just brings that toughness you need on the team. And I think if he falls, he really can help you as a receiver, not really just that return man, but he really, he's a slot kind of guy. He's not really an outside receiver. So he fills in where you're looking for. And I'd love for Quez to step it up, but look, bring in some competition here. That's what I'm all about. But this is another tough kid, just like AJ and Devontae. They'll go in traffic, catch that ball. And I think that, he's got some work for sure. But that's why we talk about him in those mid rounds. And I think that he would be somebody I would be pretty happy with if the Eagles ended up with him. So, hey, look, we're talking about those mid rounds. So if you acquire a 4th or 5th round, again, the Eagles don't have 4th, 5th, 6th, but we're talking about if we do, you could definitely be looking at some of those guys. Now, number 4 here, I think he's around that same range as him in this draft. Maybe somebody goes, in the 3rd round for this young man, but Tyler Scott, another kid that is fast as hell, 4.4440. And if you watch him, holy shit. Yeah, he's really fast and he's twitchy. That's one of the things you want if someone's going to help you. And again, I'm going to say in the return game, but it's not always the stats, man. Take the numbers with a grain of salt. This dude with the ball in his hands is a threat. That's why I think he could help you in that area. And he used to play running back. So he's got that toughness. I think it's somebody that, you give him end arounds. This is somebody that isn't just, the receiver, isn't just the return man. He can help you again, like a couple of the other guys we talked about. I think this past year he didn't have any rushes, but he's had one in his career for 20. I think his skill set, again, the stats don't mean crap to me. You see that he's got low kick return yards. He had like 1 return last year for nothing. So he did nothing in those areas. But in the NFL, he can definitely be used as that kind of player. And I think for me, Tyler Scott would be a great addition. And he is really fun to watch. So go check him out for sure. But up next here, this top 3, this was kind of complicated for me because I like all 3 of these guys. And I think that I will probably mix them up by the time that we get near the draft, but would be really excited if the Eagles added them. And I think they add everything that we've been mentioning and then some. So let's get it started. Someone mentioned him earlier. At number 3, Mr. Tank Dell. And man, I have a hard time not even putting him number 1, but 155, like what the hell? Like, I don't know if he's still that skinny. I don't know if that, he is definitely a tiny little guy. But I think, look, 5'10", I'm not worried about it. 23 years old. I think you obviously can get this kid in the right frame, right shape for the NFL. And I think he can do some damage. I am a big fan of Tank Dell. I'm not going to lie to you. And, for me, I think, obviously, we know as Eagles fans, Devontae Smith, what everybody said. But, he's really, it was listed as, it's like Quentin Johnson. He's more like 5'8". He's not even like 5'10". And I think he's gained about like 10 pounds last I saw. So really, consider him like 5'9", 160, because it's really just all over the board there. But just know that he's a skinny guy. And look, I think those are things we know can be worked on. He can be fine. And I think that he has been phenomenal, though. You see those 3,000 yards there, 32 effing receiving touchdowns. Got 1 return touchdown, but he can definitely help you in that area. I mean, the way he accelerates, watch his footwork, watch the way his burst, man, this dude. Oh yeah. Now he played a lot of slot, so that's what we've been talking about, but this dude is just effing phenomenal. I love him. And it's once he gets that ball in his hands, watch him make plays, dude. That's the kind of guy we're looking for. And I think that, he is that dude. So clearly you're going to want him to beef up a little bit. You're going to want him to learn how to take on the press a little bit more because he's not just that guy yet. And he's got shorter arms, but that's okay. And I think that he is somebody I would be pretty happy with if we got him with that 4th pick. Maybe we have, or maybe if we traded, got him in the 4th round, if he falls, something like that. But I think other teams are going to be looking at him, and he could definitely be looking in the 3rd, maybe even 2nd if a team is feeling frisky. So kid's got the talent. There's a lot of talented wide receivers, but he could fall to the 4th. I mean, so many things can happen. Now, at number 2, we've got Jaden Reed. And I think this is another kid. And this was hard for me to move these guys around. 5'11", 6 foot. I mean, take it for what you will. He's 185 pounds. And he ran a 4.4540. And he's another dude that you watch him. I really think, he's not one of those deep threats like the other guys that we've talked about, but man, it's when he gets the ball in his hands, the things he can do with it. And he's great at possessing that ball. So I think that, he's got good hands. He's got all the talent you want. And I think he just got to be opened up a little bit. And he definitely can get separation from guys. He can get deep. I'm just saying it's just not exactly, he's not just a one trick kind of pony. I think he's got a lot of skills. And I think some things, that he lacks is just a little bit of that speed. It's not, he's 4.4540. It's not like he's slow, but that's one of the things, that people want to say about his game. It's like, okay, I guess compared to some of the other guys, sure, but this dude is effing fast. He's fun to watch, man. And I know he's, 185. He's the smaller build, but look, man, he can help you in the return game, help you as a slot receiver. I really think that Jaden Reed would be a fantastic addition to this Eagles roster. And I'd be happy with any of those guys that I just mentioned there. But obviously, we're in the realm of talking about, with those picks we have here. And then I'm going to talk about one guy in particular. Then I'm going to get rolling here. But let's talk about him. Mr. Number 1, Marvin Mims. And look, that the Eagles had him in for a visit, and we talked about him at that time. I think that Marvin Mims, for me, this is somebody that, again, and this wide receiver class is so weird. I talked about it. These guys could definitely be falling to different rounds. And if this dude falls anywhere and you're in the 3rd round, you feel like you got some good linemen, offensive linemen, corner, safety, whatever you got. You see him, you feel he's the best available. I think I would not be against this dude. Now, I don't think that he's anything crazy, but I do think, some teams could see what I see, could go in the 2nd round, maybe, he does go in that 3rd round though. So I think this is somebody I would be all for the Eagles adding here. And there's another dude that just with that toughness, he just, to me, screams Philly, the way he goes up and gets the ball, those things that we need, those playmakers we talk about from the slot. But I think that he's a guy you can, interchangeable. He's only 5'11", 177. So I know you guys are catching the theme here, but I think that this dude, with the receivers we already have, would fit in just perfectly. Another catch and run kind of guy where, yeah, you let him stretch the field, do some things, and he's tough as hell. When he gets that ball in his hands, I really, again, those return numbers don't make you jump off the page, but you take numbers with a grain of salt, man. And I think that clearly if he beefs up a little bit, you can do some things with him that he helps you not only as that slot receiver, but in the return game. And we know that Quez Watkins has had his struggles here. So that's an area I think we could definitely look to add to. Maybe you add it in free agency after the draft. You add an undrafted kid that we've talked about just on that list. Hey, a lot of options here, but love to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Trey Tucker was better in Cincy. Yeah, I'm not talking about the better receivers, though. Just talking about the better fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. And yeah, a lot of great options out there for sure. And Tyler Scott, yes, he did for sure. But I love me some Tank Dell, man. And he definitely had his issues. That's why we talked about him where we did. Yeah. And again, that's why we talk about, them being mid-round or late-round guys. They're not going to be the top guys of the draft. This is not a top 10 list. But really quick, probably the best route runner. Yeah, he's really effing fun to watch. And we talk about those top 3 guys. I think other teams are going to look at them, see that, and possible 2nd-round kind of guys. So for me, those top 3, I'd be ecstatic if the Eagles added them to their roster. So, look, going across the middle, well, no doubt. But a lot of these guys are going to have those issues because they're college kids. The upside is what's there for me. So what I'm always looking at, and with the Eagles having one of the best duos in the NFL, if not the best, you have a luxury of, if you want to add someone in the draft, if you want to add someone as an undrafted free agent, go after a free agent, but bring in someone that's going to push Quez Watkins, help us in the slot, help us in the return game. And I think that is the way to go, Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I am probably not going to be back tomorrow because it is Easter, but Monday I'll be back with the tight ends. Looking forward to talking about those with you. We'll talk about their tiers, the rankings. We'll talk about the Eagles tight ends. Then we'll talk about the best fits. And there are some damn good tight ends in this draft. Very excited to talk about those guys as well. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I'm sorry, but I got to get rolling, so I've got to make this quick. But I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. If you guys watch this, rewatch this, or watching this later, love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Always down to talk some birds with you. But have yourselves a very happy Easter. If you need me, please feel free to reach out. But thank you for watching. If you got anything from this, do me a favor, hit that like button. You can always subscribe down below. Talk birds with us live next time. But again, enjoy the holiday. Stay safe out there. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. Thank you for watching. And as always, hit with me. Go Birds!